Aye, well, Mr. Blum is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the panelists for being here today. I appreciate your insights. Mr. Owen, I believe you said, I wrote down here, you said this is a very manual process. You also said the backlog continues to grow. How much of the process, I'm from the private sector, so I'm interested in this. How much of the process is manual today and how much is automated, whether through analytics, technology? What's the percentages today?
Well, the percentages, if you look at last year's data, so we received 275 million parcels in the mail. We received another 98 million through the express courier facilities. The 98 million, we currently receive the advanced information on. Okay, so all of that is done through advanced targeting. We have the systems controls to present the shipments that we've identified as high risk to us. Within that 275 million that we've been working with the Postal Service on, where we had very little advanced data a year ago, we now have advanced data coming to us from 18 countries, and in particular from China, which is helping us to reduce from that manual process to a more targeted process based on the presence of that advanced data that we can analyze, place holds on the shipment of concern.
That's the analytics portion of this, correct?
Yes, so the pendulum is definitely shifting from where we had much more of a manual process before we received advanced data to a less of a manual process as we receive data now from 18 countries and growing.
Of the packages that are targeted, what percentage, is every single one of those require manual intervention?
Basically, yes.
Every single one does.
That is targeted has to be open and physically inspected to determine what's inside. The typical seizure that we see in these parcels in terms of fentanyl and opioids is a baggie of 200 to 500 grams of white powder. So we're talking very small seizures, less than half a pound, generally manifested as something lawful and legitimate, aspirin or acetaminophen. We have to take the substances from those baggies, those white powders, do some field testing to first make an initial identification. Then it needs to go to a more structured laboratory within CBP or the DEA to make that final determination as to what that white powder is. It can be a very time-consuming process for each one of these half-a-pound shipments that we're seizing in the mail facilities.
So we want to obviously intercede in these illicit drug shipments. What happens, though, when we do find illicit drugs? Are we going back to the country of origin? Are we trying to find and prosecute the people? Or is there so much of this that can't be done?
When we will make the interdictions, the first effort that we take is with our criminal investigators, with Homeland Security investigations, as well as with the postal inspectors. We will then try to process that seizure where we can result in an arrest of who is bringing that cargo into the country. With that as well, we also take the specifics from that seizure and goes into the analytical work that we've been speaking of with the IG here, is to help identify further targets down the road.
You have this funnel of packages, and you winnow it down by using analytics. Can we use okay, now to that portion of the funnel, can we use technology so maybe every package doesn't need to be hand opened? I mean, is that in the future, or is that now?
That
is we doing that?
Future. The ideal end state for us is to have a technology that can look inside the package without having to open it and identify if there's a synthetic item in there, a concern to that part. There are several manufacturers that are working on that type of technology. So if we can have that technology that is automatic, that will give us an alert that we've got an issue of concern within this package, that will be really a game changer in this space that we struggle with.
And that's being developed
currently? Yes, there are several manufacturers that are working towards that end.
That'd be a game changer, would it not?
It would be a game changer, yes, sir.
Last question, and if you already answered it, I apologize. The only responsibility of the United States Postal System is to turn over, correct, or to present international packages to CPB, correct? That has not been done to the extent it's supposed to per policy. Am I correct in that statement? I believe I'm correct. I just want to know why.
That's not a policy, sir. It's our policy. When CBP asks for packages for presentation, we present it to them. We have gotten much better. As we spoke before, when it was a manual process, we had a little more difficulty in finding the packages. But since we've automated that process, we've gotten much better at presenting CBP the items that they're asking for. And we continue to work and apply extra resources and automation to make that better.
And I've got 13 seconds left. I just want to say that the United States Postal Service and CBP, I think you both do amazing jobs. And I've toured many of the facilities, and hats off to you. Keep up the good work. I yield back the time I do not have.
Thank the gentleman. The chair now recognizes the gentlewoman from